organized by the International Manifesto Group. Today's title is The Summit of the Americas versus CELAC, Wither the Monroe Doctrine at 200. My name is Radhika Desai, and I'm the convener of the International Manifesto Group. I'm speaking to you today from Winnipeg in Canada, a city that stands on the stolen lands of the Anishinaabe, the Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and is also the homeland of the Métis Nation. The International Manifesto Group was created as a discussion group at the start of the pandemic to discuss the unfolding of the very fast-moving political, economic, social, and international crises that the pandemic was already clearly accelerating. And of course, since then, we've had other events that are very, very fast changing the world order. And of course, we're here today to talk about one very important aspect of that. Since we were launched, we have written a manifesto entitled Through Pluripolarity Towards Socialism, which I encourage you all to read and sign. It's been translated into many languages and more are awaited. You can find it all at www.internationalmanifesto.org. Today's event has many co-sponsors. They include Kawasaki News, the Canada Files, Covert Action Magazine, the Fire This Time Movement for Social Justice, the United Anti-War Coalition, the Bolivarian Circle, Louis Rial Bolivarian Circle, the Hamilton Coalition to Stop the War, the Toronto Peace Initiative, the Orinoco Tribune, the International Action Center, Venezuela Analysis, the Black Alliance for Peace, and Multipolarista. Today, the idea that the US and Western hegemony, I put the word heavily in quotation marks, or more appropriately, perhaps dominance is declining, is on practically everyone's lips, except of course for the most delusional. The shift has been a long time coming. The fact of the matter was that what was called US hegemony was always US imperial ambition and effort dressed up as theory and analysis. The fact was that the United States never had the capacity to provide the world with what it claimed to: hegemony, leadership, public goods, etc. In reality, like all powers attempting imperialism, it only had subordination to offer to the rest of the world. This has always been resisted, and today what we are witnessing is a simple fact that the people and peoples of the world today have an increased ability to resist these efforts made by the United States and more broadly by Western countries. In Latin America, thanks to this eternal impulse to resist such subordination, we witnessed the veritable pink tide this century. And today it is surging stronger than ever. With Brazil poised to elect Lula as president, the whole map of Latin America is about to go red very quickly. And by the way, I should add that 2 weeks from now, we are going to have a very interesting panel analyzing what's going on in the election campaign, the all-important election campaign in Brazil, up to about 3 weeks before the elections take place. So please watch out for that. In this context, therefore, the exercise of US power was bound to encounter huge obstacles, and this year's Summit of the Americas made that abundantly clear. The forum was launched in 1994 when left forces throughout Latin America had been laid low. Cuba and Nicaragua most recently, but also, of course, much longer ago, Guatemala and Chile. And United States power was at a peak like never before. Even so, the Summit of the Americas was never able to do much. When it first launched at its first summit in Miami, its aim was a hemisphere-wide free trade agreement, an extension perhaps of the recently concluded NAFTA. That, however, was never successful. And today, with governments who see right through the US game taking power all over Latin America, this is impossible. And moreover, if the Trump phenomena is to be credited, even the people of the United States are saying they cannot bear the burden of arrangements that are designed to benefit a tiny elite, not even the people of the United States. As is well known, at its most recent summit, the United States' effort to exclude Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua boomeranged massively. Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, President of Mexico, Xiomara Castro, President of Honduras, Luis Arce, President of Bolivia, Najib Bukele, President of El Salvador, and Ralph Gonzalez, the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, all refused to attend the summit on those terms. With several other leaders being unable to attend for one reason or another, the summit was a poor affair. Indeed, it is hard to find instances of the United States being snubbed so thoroughly and so effectively. Those offering solace by locating the little achievements of the summit of which the US could be proud had a hard job. Andreas Rosenthal, I read somewhere on the web, founder of the Mexican Council on Foreign Relations, for example, had to admit, and I'm now quoting, many leaders expected a major announcement from the United States on a substantial commitment of funding for Latin America's infrastructure and economic development. However, as has been the case for some time, most of what was promised was private sector investment that has been offered by previous US administrations and has never materialized. With the United States losing its purchase on world events, including events in its own so-called backyard, with new institutions of international economic and regional governance emerging, such as the Summit of the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States, namely CELAC, with China and even Russia now increasingly offering alternative arrangements for trade, for investment, for security, the days of the Monroe Doctrine are clearly over. The Monroe Doctrine is generally interpreted as a doctrine asserting that the Western Hemisphere was a sphere of exclusively US influence, and therefore as a cornerstone of American imperial policy. And undoubtedly, most US administrations have interpreted it this way and have acted in the fashion that it prescribes. But however, when it was first formulated in 1823, it also contains some very different seeds, thanks to the author of the document, then Secretary of State, later President of the United States, John Quincy Adams. These seeds were of a more sensible, more realistic foreign policy, better calibrated to the United States' real needs and, of course, real capacities. A realist foreign policy which opposed European imperialism and sought better relations with the already independent states of the Western Hemisphere. Today, important parts, and by the way, for these views, John Quincy Adams was one of those presidents who was confined to a single term. Today, important parts of a US foreign policy establishment have set up an institute in his name to advocate greater military restraint and a more cooperative attitude with other nations, including the nations of Latin America. This is at least one sign. This is at once a sign of United States' diminished powers and also a ray of hope that the people of the United States, better thinkers, cooler minds, will take power away, which is presently in the hands of delusional imperialist leaders. But in any case, Latin American countries and the people of Latin America are not waiting with bated breath for this to happen. They are striking out on their own.
I'm Michael Hudson. I'm appearing here for the International Manifesto Group. If you like this video and ones like it, please subscribe. For more information, go to the address on the screen.